Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Boots and Backstraps podcast.
Brought to you by Homes by Shane and produced by Danny Geo Productions.
Come on now.
The hunt is on, looking for backstraps, way deep in the woods, tracking in a swamp to a hay field under the harvest moon. When the tags are filled, it's time to switch up our boots. Head down to the honky-tonk, get us a swing dance or two. We're talking about boots and backstraps.
Hey everybody, this is a show where we talk all things hunting and country music.
From the classics through today.
From big bucks to bull elk. We've got it all.
Tom, it's like it's your first episode. Gotta wait a second and then we can talk.
I just wanted to get it out there.
You're so excited. It's like Christmas
excited.
morning for you every time we film an episode of Boots and Backstraps.
I know, and one of my best old friends is on the show tonight. So
we're not there yet, Tom. We're not there. You're too excited.
Can you,
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Boots and Backstraps. It's my first episode with my friend over there. Has no idea what he's doing. TK.
Come on now.
I'm not even going to give you all the glory of the handsome and the talented and the experienced. Now we're off script. It's just
Here I am with Boots and Backstrap and my bonehead friend.
Yeah, there it is. TK, welcome to the show.
Speaking of boneheads.
How have you been, my man?
I'm great. I'm just wonderful. I'm having a great day and kind of excited for our show tonight because an old friend of mine's on.
Yeah.
We've had a fair amount of old friends, but this one goes back many, many years with many, many stories. But we'll get to him in a minute.
He's your old friend, and he's also your old friend.
Boy, I tell you what, talk about old. Holy cow. You can't say anything yet.
Boy, yeah. He can talk. He just hasn't been introduced yet. But I will say this. There's two things I want to get to really quick before we start, TK.
Okay.
The first of which is, for those that are watching this podcast, this episode will have graphic language. Like we're throwing that out there right now. So if you are of underage or you're sensitive to language or that kind of thing is just not your jam, then this is not the episode for you. We are going to definitely
need to do the old Rowdy Cowboy Show disclaimer.
This is a disclaimer.
If you get ladies and gentlemen, if you get offended easily or if you're a little sensitive, you might not want to hang out. You want to go next door.
Yep. Right. Exactly.
We're going to keep it.
Find another spot to hang out today.
I'll work on it there.
Yeah.
We'll keep it clean.
Yeah.
Well, no, we won't.
As clean as we can.
Yeah. Like we'll say it's going to be clean, but that's inevitably we'll end up saying something, and then it's just easier if we throw the disclaimer out.
And it's not our fault. It's our guest.
Hey, he can't control himself, No filter. That's fine.
That's right.
That's several years of hanging out with people like you, I think, TK.
That's real true with a lot of people, but not with this one.
He's all on his own.
Yes. He had his bad habits before he met me.
All right. The other thing I was going to mention is we should point out our brand new carving over here. It's got our logo on it. Yeah. So we're working with a local company that's called I Can Only Be Me Wood Carving, owned by a gentleman named Josh Knutson, and he goes by Scarecrow. That's kind of like his nickname. Everybody knows him as Scarecrow. And he does these custom wood carvings, and he did this one for us, and he's going to be partnering with Boots and Backstraps, and we'll be doing some giveaways for these free custom wood carvings. So somebody's got they want to put something special on an anniversary date or birthday date or their family names or whatever. He can do everything. He's doing a lot of flags. He's doing a lot of military tribute stuff. He's doing sports logos and things like that. But he did this very nice carved, painted, burned, and a lacquered,
Yep.
epoxied.
Lacquer sounds good.
Lacquer. Boots and Backstraps carving. So
Lacquer in the front and poker in the rear.
Oh, here we go. See, we gave the disclaimer. We threw the disclaimer out there.
It's a card game.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, TK.
So speaking of potential sponsors and such, I would like to tell the folks that in the next couple of weeks, I think next week, we're going to have Michael Jordan on. Mm-hmm. Michael Jordan, not the basketball player. This is a tall, skinny white kid. He's actually my godson, and he owns Unreal, who, if you turn your hat, he has a clothing line. He has actually a couple of NFL teams, half a dozen NHL teams, and his company's growing leaps and bounds, and he's just a great kid, and I took him on his first turkey hunt last year, and we just have so much to talk about with him. And Michael, in turn, introduced me to a new up-and-coming superstar of country music, David McElroy. And David McElroy used to play for the Minnesota Gopher football team. He and I spoke for about an hour yesterday on the phone, and he's so excited.
How many times did you nod off in the conversation?
Oh, none. It was a fun, because not only were we talking about country music and the Wee Fest, which I am become a part of again, we talked about hunting. He's got his own hunting show now.
Jeez.
He's developing his own hunting show. As a matter of fact, today he left for Idaho for a spring bear hunt. And at any rate, he's going to be on one of the next episodes, one of the up-and-coming episode, I should say. So I'm really excited about that. He's got a song that made the top 20, which is called Trucker's Hat, or Trucker Hat. And he's just doing well. He was opening for guys like Keith Urban.
I watched a video of his recently when you were talking about him. He's got a bright future ahead of him.
Oh, my gosh. He's a very good-looking guy and just totally down to earth, like a lot of the country acts are. But anyway, he's from Minnesota, and he always wanted to play the Wee Fest. And when he was up and coming, the other people that had bought the Wee Fest, they didn't take an interest in anybody locally.
Yeah.
They did everything from New York. And now that our friends have it back, well, we're definitely going to get him on the list. He was just bummed that no one would ever get him on. I said, well, maybe it's just as well, because the Wee Fest is going to be huge again.
Yeah.
Like it used to be.
Back to the glory days, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they did it. I will say, not to stroke your ego, because you definitely don't need any more of that, but they made a smart move in bringing you back, because it just didn't feel like it was the same without you there.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. It's like 35 years. It always feels like home to me up there. So
it's probably weird for the artists the last 6 or 7 years to go out there and be introed and not have you there to.
They weren't even introed. They didn't even have an MC.
Oh boy!
Gee, and this year the head MC is kind of fun. It's going to be
Kelly Pickler, right?
Kelly Pickler,
which is crazy.
And she's not your straight down the middle of the road sort of gal. She's
a
out
Spitfire,
there.
Right?
She's a Spitfire. She's a riot. So that'll be fun. I'll be working with her, and then I'll be introducing some of the regional and Nashville acts on the Barnhouse stage. So it's going to be a fun deal. Lynn was going to produce the stage, but Matt didn't realize they had already hired a stage producer.
Okay.
So we get to relax a little bit, hang out in the campgrounds with friends. And
it's a good way to break back in slowly.
It's always been a dream of mine to go to the Wee Fest and enjoy it, rather than working there.
I totally thought you were going to say, it's always been a dream of mine to literally die while I'm announcing George Strait at the Wee Fest. I'm like, that's my dream too, Tom. We share that dream.
Well, I can one-up you on that deal. He did come up. He walks, after his last time we had George Strait,
yeah.
He walked straight over to me and shook my hand and says, Tomcat, I'd like to come back. I was like a little dumbfounded. I was like, well, I said,
this is a question?
I said, you don't have to twist my arm very hard.
Yeah.
But then we sold the show, and I don't know. I don't think George Strait's been at the Wee Fest within the last 7 years. After
Not in the time. I've never seen him at Wee Fest, and I went for Pat. Have you seen him? We got Cowboy Pat in studio.
Well, how many years did you go after I retired?
0.
Oh.
The last time I went was last year you emceed.
Okay, so I'm wondering if anyone knows whether or not he was there. I don't think he was. Pat, did you go there once in a while? And for those of you that are wondering who the heck we're talking to, that's Cowboy Pat. He's a little off stage, but we can't bring him on camera.
Yeah, I actually just said that. I said he's here to heckle. Yeah. What they couldn't hear him saying, because he's off mic, is that he's been going since 96. So he's got 27 years or 25 years.
We were up on stage when George Strait was playing. Susie Bogus was right next to me. Brian.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, George Strait's my hero, your hero.
He is the king of country music.
He's the king. I mean, he's a hunter. He's got a beautiful horse ranch down in Texas, and he's just the guy I want to emulate. I think a lot of us would like to emulate. He's a good, all-American class act.
Well, before we burn too many miles of tape on this thing, speaking of guys that love country music and hunting, we got somebody sitting on the sofa over here that probably has a few things to say on both those subjects.
We better get something going on with him because pretty soon he's going to sink so far into that thing we won't see him anymore.
He might just fall asleep over there.
I know.
He's looking at me going, wake me up when you're ready for me.
For those of you that have been to the Hoggsbreath, and I know a lot of you have, you probably will recognize this guy. I mean, he's like the face of the Hoggsbreath. He's got several nicknames. We've always known him as Big Steve. But
that was your generation.
Yeah, we'll get into some of the other nicknames. I know Cowboy Pat has a few names for him that are probably X-rated. Anyway, it's great to have you here, Steve, and I'm not going to make a big, huge, prolonged introduction, but this is one of my best friends in the world.
In studio.
Big Steve.
Thanks, brother.
Anyone that's ever been to the Hoggsbreath, you've probably been either carted by him or kicked out by him if you're unruly.
Maybe both.
All right. Yeah, and if you're a female, well, we better not go there. That was the old days.
Yeah, so Steve, we got to talk about you a lot and being synonymous with the Hoggsbreath, being there literally since day one, being one of the original owners of the Hoggsbreath.
Yep.
And then as you and I talked about before we started the show, there was a whole lot that was said by Tommy DeRay that you were not there to defend, or I should say to either confirm or deny.
Right.
Tonight is your chance, brother. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun deal with Tom DeRay. And for those of you that are wondering who that is, he's the sole owner of the Hoggsbreath and has been for many, many years. But it wasn't always the case when we first opened up the Hoggsbreath, which was 1977. And I came on board in 1978. And, well, we can cover that at another time. But
yeah,
Steve, pull that microphone a little tighter to your face there. And
he's good.
And how have you been, man?
Real good. How about you?
And that's I'm real good. And for Steve to say he's real good, I guess we may as well get right into it. He's had a major, major, major operation here in recent history, like in the last few months.
Life-saving.
Life-saving. He's been on dialysis now for how many years?
About 5.
About 5 years. I mean, he'd have to go to the hospital and what did why don't you explain what the dialysis was and how often you had to have it?
Yeah, 3 days a week I'd have to go in at 5:30 in the morning. I get done about 10:30 in the morning.
Uh-huh.
And they stuck needles that are this long in these bumps.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't go away. But after 10 years, I got a new kidney, and I'm, praise God, feeling great. So high blood pressure is what got me and got the kidney.
Uh-huh.
So I say to all my friends, make sure check your blood pressure, because mine was 260 over 160.
That's a lot.
And the doctors thought my eyeballs were going to pop out of my head. And I didn't even know I was sick. So,
wow.
Yeah, so be careful with that. Blood pressure is a silent killer.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things, Steve, that people will relate to with you is you had sort of a stressful life, from what I know. You had yourself in a kind of lot of stressful situations, and so you probably didn't know that anything was different, right?
Right, I didn't. And 43 years in the bar business, I've been, 400 or 500 people a night we usually go through.
Right.
So that's a lot of people and a lot of incidents that I had to take care of. So that raised my blood pressure too high.
Sure.
Yeah, he was our official security guard, master of security at the Hoggsbreath, and had to break up a lot of issues. You know, I mean, the Hoggsbreath had many years of calamity, but started out as a biker bar back in the 70s, and then that resolved itself, I think, in large part due to you, and cleaned it up. And we had a pretty normal place, but, you know, with that many people every night and a little drinking going on, and tempers will rise, and Steve had to clear out and straighten out an awful lot of conflicts over the years, and some of them he probably created on his own.
I did.
It's good of you to admit it, though.
Steve didn't get the memo about boots and backstraps being
Yeah.
a cowboy boots affair, and look
Hey,
at them
Jesus
legs.
rocked the sandals. I think I can too.
That's right.
He's good.
He's my friend.
That's right. That's right.
So, Steve, had you been to the Hoggsbreath as far as the physical location before you guys bought it?
No, I hadn't. I was in California, and Tom came back and with Dave, and they decided they found a place. And then I flew in on a Saturday night, and at 10 o'clock I walked in, and there's one bar down the other end and a couple winos sitting there.
Hey, Jill, can we get an assist on his headphones over here? The guy's he has like a football helmet for a head.
Well, anyway,
You see, he
I don't
held
know
it.
this
He
thing
held
is-
it.
So anyway, I said, what in the world did we spend our money on? And then we went to Berkeley Chev or Berkeley
Yeah.
Buick or whatever. Anyway, they leased us a video or a DJ system, and that's all it took. We were packed with a line out the door 2 months after we started. But the first night we did it, we had to take money out of our pockets to fill the till so we could sell a drink. And then it was busy from then on.
Just got on a roll and just kept going.
No, it did.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
fantastic.
it was a good life. A lot of roughness, but a good life.
Yeah, the Cowboy Pat's over there quoting on talking about how the line used to go from the door all the way around the building down
Yeah.
into the parking lot.
Yeah.
10, 15 bouncers at a night.
Oh yeah, it was a crazy place. I mean, many ups and downs, and many we had the disco days. I mean, the 70s. That's
It started as disco, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Now, how the heck did that happen? Because you guys were country fans, weren't you, back then?
Yeah, but that was the fad was disco at the time, and once we got going, people just loved it. And
Did you
they
wear
were-
like a disco outfit?
Oh yeah, we had bell bottoms and the whole thing.
Oh, there's got to be that picture. Did you give
Yeah, I
Danny
gave
that
it
one
to him.
picture of you and
Oh,
look at
there
this?
it is.
Wow.
That's my partner, Tommy.
That's,
Wait, that's not Kenny Loggins?
No, it's
who's the other guy? He looks like did Roadhouse, Pat Swayze.
Pat
Yep,
Swayze. Yeah.
yep.
Did Patrick Swayze ever have a mustache?
I don't know. I don't
Probably
know.
at some point.
But if
Magnum
you,
PI.
Can you go back to that again, Danny? I mean, I hate to pick on Tommy because he's not here, but that has got to be about a quart of Aquanet
Oh, that's funny.
in that head. That is some air-blown, brushed out.
Oh,
Look at the mane on
hey,
that guy.
it used to take him a long time to get ready to go.
oh,
out.
don't I
beautify.
remember? I remember.
Oh my
I remember
goodness.
spending a week down in Cancun with Tom,
Oh,
and he had to do a little prepping before
oh
we went
my
out to eat
goodness.
and have a few adult beverages.
And after he had a couple adult beverages, he had to babysit a lot out there.
Yeah, I'm sure
Well,
you
needless
did.
to say, without throwing Tommy under the bus, he was not a very good drinker,
No,
and he still is not to
he
this
liked
day.
to kick people.
Yeah, he'd get a little
Karate.
bit out of control. He had
Yeah,
a black
yeah.
belt
Yeah.
in something, karate, taekwondo, I don't know what it was, but
So you'd get a few drinks and he'd just start kicking people?
well, he'd kick the lights out of fixtures and
One day we had a ramp going into the bar,
Yeah.
and me and him had been drinking all day, and we go to the bar, and people are walking in, and he's kicking at them, and I go, stop it. And he smiles and like, why? And I go, because that's the customers. We don't kick the customers.
It's like
Not
you're
until the-
babysitting a child.
Oh, it was.
not until they do something wrong.
You don't
Yeah.
kick the customers.
Yeah.
At least not until they've spent their money.
He just
Kick
he,
them on the way out.
he thought he was cool doing it, so it was fine. You had to really watch him close.
No, he was a different human being after he had a few beverages.
Yeah.
He was funny.
I got to say, I'm enjoying this part of the story because, when we filmed live at Hoggsbreath and we had him on, he made it sound like he was the responsible
Yeah.
parent guy
That
in the
is-
whole thing, and he just had to deal with you guys all the time.
That is funny.
The truth is coming out.
There's a fair amount of truth in that, but not total truth.
No kidding. You know, when he was sober, which is all most of the time, then he was the thinker and the good guy, and he did things right. But boy, you get him drunk.
I'll tell you what, the man has been blessed, and everyone that knows Tom DeRay will attest to it. He's been blessed with the largest amount of patience of any man I've ever known on the planet. I mean, he has been at that Hoggsbreath, that bar, every day. Now that he's got grandkids, he takes off a couple days a week.
Yeah.
But he was there 7 days a week for
24.
40 years.
Yep.
35, 40 years. And the only time he'd take off is when we'd go up deer hunting for
That's the truth.
4 or 5 days. And
Yeah, you
other
got
than
to
that,
hand it
he's
to him.
diligent. I mean, diligent is absolutely the word for him. I mean, anyone that's in the bar restaurant industry or knows anything about it knows that type of bar, dance club, we'll call it, you know, their longevity, their existence was typically predicted at 2 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Not that
5
different
years
now.
go by and 10 years go by, and people are going, wow, that place is still there. And they had several setbacks, you know, various things happening with the police and an individual dying in the parking lot. And, you know, but he weathered it all because of his diligence, his honesty. And now here we are 44 years.
Yeah.
I guess 44 years later. And he's still there, still doing it. You know, we always tease him. I mean, why don't you retire? Why don't you do this? And why don't you sell the place? He wouldn't know what to do with himself.
No.
And certainly Jossie would kill him.
Yeah.
So, Steve, are you still working in there?
No, right now, because of the corona thing, since last March, I haven't worked. But I'm hoping someday we open up the nighttime again, because that's what I do is night.
Right.
And then I would go back. So.
And how are you feeling these days?
Oh, really good. I'm walking a lot, you know, where I had 2 operations because they didn't hook my urethra up. So I was like having trouble with stuff was going inside me, so they had to reopen me again. Mm-hmm. So that set me way back. But actually right now I have no pain and I'm walking and things is really good.
Everything's working like it's supposed to?
You betcha.
All right, that's good to hear.
Everything's great.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good to hear.
Yeah, I'm happy.
So we spent many years, sorry
No, go ahead.
to cut you off. We spent many, many years, you know, we keep talking about Tom DeRay. He grew up in a little town in northwestern Minnesota, north of Thief River Falls, a little town called New Folden.
Right on.
And that's where he went to school. And he and his brother and his nephew have a rather large farm up there. And we've been deer hunting up there since 1979, I believe.
Right.
And Steve has been on those trips with us. And you know, I was thinking about this the other night. You know, we have hundreds of amazing hunting stories, but you were quite the shot. You know, I mean, Steve's part native, and I don't know which.
German. Native and German.
No. Which part of Indian are
What
you?
tribe?
My mother was Cherokee.
Cherokee.
Okay. I didn't hear that. So this guy could shoot, man. He pulled. Look at this. There's Hanky Panky on the end, and his brother, myself.
Steve, I hate to throw you under the bus this early in the episode, but are you hunting with a leather jacket on?
Yeah, well, I was partying the night before, so I didn't take it off when I came back.
Okay.
I got home. We were drinking Jack Daniels.
So we got Steve on the left, his brother, who is no longer with us.
Yep.
That's your brother next to you?
Yep.
Okay.
Bill. And then myself, and then Jimmy, who's no longer with us.
Yeah.
That's Jocelyn's brother. And then Big Dave, who was on our show a few episodes ago. And
Dave
then
Miller.
there's Tommy DeRay in his military garb.
Was
Brian
he in the military?
Wheeler. What's that?
Was Tommy in the military?
No.
Okay.
No.
I was like, I didn't know that.
And then there's Brian Wheeler, who we called Wheels, and our manager at the for many, many years, Dennis
Yep.
Kloss on the end.
Danny.
But that was a typical year.
It was.
I mean, we harvested a ton of deer up there.
When we were leaving, we had most of them on a trailer. And we stopped in town for gas, and the guy at the station says, "You boys must have been horn hunting."
Yeah, we'd load them up like cordwood on there until that became an unpopular thing to do. And so then, I mean, we had a flatbed trailer.
Yeah.
And I have the picture, and I don't know that I've given it to Danny, but
You're fired.
maybe on another episode, and maybe people wouldn't want to even see it because we had a whole pile of deer out there. Anyway, back to you shooting deer. I can remember one instance, and that was like in, I think, 79. You had a deer, remember the swamp buck running across? Yeah. And he was a couple hundred yards away, and you were shooting a lever action 30-30?
Yep.
Yep, and Steve paused.
Lever action being the...
I said a prayer. This is how it really was. He was
that's what I was just going to
way
say.
on the other side of the field, and a big old 8 or 10 point. And they all shot, and they were done shooting, right? And I raised the 30-30 of this, no kidding. And I prayed. I said, "Please let me get this." I said, "I promise I'll save everything and I'll eat it to God." And I shot once, nothing happened, and I pulled it up and shot again. It came down in the spine, broke his spine, went in a half an inch, and the deer fell down.
Some people might think that's
Hail
unethical,
Mary.
but I'll tell you what, that was fun. We referred to that as the Hail Mary shot
Yes.
because that buck was coming up out of a swamp on the other side, and
Yep.
Steve did pause, and he said a little prayer, took 2 more shots, and we didn't know there was no wound on the deer. So then we'd hang them, and we would quarter them, and we did it the old-fashioned way. We actually took a bone saw and went right down the spine, and we didn't know where the bullet was. And all of a sudden, chink, chink,
Yeah.
there was the bullet
Right in the
lodged
spine.
in the deer's spine. So it was a true Hail Mary shot. And
It really was.
I don't think
half
anyone
an inch
else.
this way, half an inch this way, and there wouldn't even. He would have thought it was a mosquito.
Right.
Yeah, so that was a pretty fun thing. And then there was a time where it might sound odd to our viewers, especially in this day and age, but you wanted to check your gun. I think it might have been the same gun. And I was walking down this trail, and I hollered at you, and I had taken a stick, and I stuck it in the ground, and I walked into the woods, and I was kind of joking. I said, "Go ahead and shoot that." And I'm thinking, there's no way in the world anyone with open sights is going to hit that. So I'm standing...
Iron sights only, no scope.
Yeah. And I'm standing several yards in the woods. Believe me, I was very safe. And he shot, and that thing went bing. And I'm like, oh, my goodness, he cut that thing in half. It wasn't 100 yards you were at, but it was probably 60 or 70 yards. And still, it was open sights, and the stick was like a broom handle.
Look at you. You got a little sniper in your blood.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Yeah, so there was some of the fun things that we did back in the day.
Kyle, can you find a 30-30 lever action? I'd like to put that up here on video so that the listeners can see what we're talking about. It makes me think of like the Wild West, right?
Well, it is.
And the one thing about that gun, it's a Theodore Roosevelt Centennial.
Yeah.
Where it has
Had the engraving on it?
Yeah, and they only made 1,500 of
The
them.
Teddy Roosevelt Centennial.
And it's got a hexagon barrel. This gun is something you wouldn't take in the woods, but I did.
Yeah, most people would have hung that up on the wall.
Right.
But yeah, it was.
Do you still have that gun?
Oh, you bet.
We should have brought it with, but who knew we were going to talk about it?
I know.
That's probably worth some money at this
Oh,
point.
yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, wow, fantastic.
I think he left me his guns in his will. I'm not sure, but
That's right. Yeah.
well, we won't talk about for the many years you had to go without your guns.
Oh, I know.
Tommy had them all. Well, it's going to be good to have you back in the deer camp this year. Now that you're
Oh, I can't
got
wait.
literally a second lease on life.
I know.
I mean, the Lord
Thank
blessed
God.
you, and that's really, really exciting. Let's take that opportunity that God's given you and do some good with it, and maybe we'll put our heads together and see if. Well, you know what? I can come up with an idea right now. We previously had a guest.
We got to stop talking about this deer camp thing because I didn't get an invite.
Oh, yes. You
Yeah,
should,
you can
No,
come up.
I didn't get invited.
You should come.
I
They
think
talked about it a
invited-
bunch when we were at the Hoggsbreath, and I'm like, you hurt my feelings now. Just stop talking about it.
Oh,
I
it's
didn't
fun.
invite you last year.
No.
Yeah, you're
No, you didn't.
shut.
Well, it's about time we do.
See,
Yeah,
there
you
we
can
go.
come up this year.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
Right
about.
on, brother.
See,
We had a gentleman
I'll
here.
bring the whiskey.
We had a gentleman. Yeah, right. Thurman Tucker. Remember when he was on? Now, Steve,
course.
I want you to. We had a meeting at the Hoggsbreath with about half a dozen people, and we're trying to put together an organization.
You know Thurman as well?
No, he doesn't. Thurman Tucker started the Quail Forever chapter.
Oh, yeah. I've heard
along
of
with
it.
Pheasants Forever in Minnesota. They're a subsidiary of Pheasants Forever. And Thurman Tucker's a wonderful gentleman from the South, and he started the Quail Forever banquet. Well, he's even older than we are.
Oh,
He and I are getting some people together, and we're going to start an organization strictly and solely about getting kids in the outdoors, getting them off their phones, giving them off their video games, and getting them out in the fields, fishing, hunting. And we've got a few people that are going to meet, and you should join us.
I'm totally interested.
Yeah, and we're
I got 3 boys.
especially with the kids.
Yep.
You know, we've got a few people that
And a girl.
Oscar's going to come, and we're going to have another meeting here at the end of this month.
Count me in.
And we're just going
Really?
to put
Me
our
too.
heads together and see how, when, where, what we should do to get this going. Because there are several organizations. You know, you got Kicking Bear, and you got Fishing for Kids, our buddy Tom. And
Here we go.
Here's a gun.
Yeah, that one on the
The one
right.
on the right does not have a scope on it, and that looks a lot like what you
Yeah,
have.
that's lever action with irons on the right there.
Yep.
yes.
Man.
That's like it, but no scope.
All right.
But it's all gold, though. The mechanism and that is
Yeah.
all gold.
On
too.
yours it is?
A Centennial, yeah. It's
And
made-
you took that thing in the woods.
Oh, yeah.
Steve, you goofball.
I don't know. I'm kind of on that same page. You got it. You got to use it.
Yeah.
Got to see if you put a little history into it.
That's a collector's gun, though. That's not like take it in the woods and get it covered in mud.
Hey,
Yeah, well, you know, it's not like you're going to sell it.
But that's the one you got that deer with.
yeah.
See, there may be like a connection, like the
Oh,
fact
I
that the
know.
gun was so special.
I know.
Yeah, yeah.
One day I was walking in the woods. I shouldn't have done that, but I was drinking them days. And I came back kind of
I don't know what you mean.
Pretty drunk. Yeah, I know. And they wanted me to drive the woods, so I did. And I'm singing "You Old Mule Skinner."
The old
There
Mule
you are.
Skinner Blues.
Yep. And I look up, and here's 3 deer. And they're only from here to the door, 25 feet away. It's dark in the woods, you know. And I pulled that 30-30 up, and I went boom, 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 and I got all 3 of them.
No way.
Yeah.
Back
Remember
in the day, we have to qualify most of the things that you say.
Yeah.
Back in the day when
Yeah.
when
We
party
did have-
hunting was legal,
It was, yes.
and it still is.
We're talking years and years ago. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was fun because, you know, they're looking at me
Were
like,
they all
are
bucks?
you crazy? Yeah. No, $2 and a doe.
And
But
they're
we
just
had a doe license, too.
Okay. And they're just looking at you like, what's this guy doing?
Yeah, because I was crazy.
The golden lever.
Yeah.
I gotta say, because this is a legitimate show, I don't think I ever remember any of us drinking and hunting at the same time.
No.
I mean, we did the night before.
Night before is what I was saying.
And
And I
none of
came
us-
back still.
that was a hard and fast rule. At any of
Oh
our
yeah, we
hunting
never
camps.
drank
never
while we were
drank.
out hunting,
No,
but
we were
would
young
still
and we
feel
would
the
party
effects.
the night before, but
Feel the
for the
effects.
most part, we had it together
Yeah.
the next day. But I don't want our viewers to get the wrong impression
No.
that we were that stupid,
Right.
because that's very frowned upon to be drinking and handling a firearm.
It sure is.
One of
Back in them days, it wasn't so bad, but we still didn't do it. But we did party the night before.
Right.
One of the first things Tom taught me when I first started hunting years ago was you don't get to have drinks until you harvest an animal.
Yes.
And then he'd call it going to town and riding the Ferris wheel.
And that's what we do too.
We'll go to
We'd
town, ride the
try to
Ferris
get
wheel.
one on Saturday, so Saturday night we could party.
Get into town and ride the Ferris wheel, Fred Lemon.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Well, let's talk about Hank Williams Jr.
All right.
You saw a photo of Steve a little bit ago with Tommy DeRay, and he had his Hank suspenders on and
Yeah, can we
a
find
Hank
that photo
T-shirt. I think Danny's got several photos.
Yeah.
There's several of them still hanging at the Hoggsbreath with Steve. At the time, there was a competition, and You know, there was this organization. What was it? It was a party organization
There we go.
that would hire
What
lookalikes, celebrity lookalikes,
Yeah,
and
and
they'd
that's
go
what
to
it was
parties and they'd do things.
Dolly Parton and
Right.
John Wayne look-alike.
Yeah, I remember the Duke.
They came to the bar one night
Yep.
and they said, "Hey, Hank's got a contest going on. You look like him. Why don't you get in it?" And I said, "I ain't getting on stage for nobody." So I went down to the Venetian Inn, which is where the state it was for that
right
night.
down the road from the Hoggsbreath.
Right, and my brother was in town, so I took him with me, and everybody looked like him. I thought, and I didn't even know what he looked like really. And then I had a couple shots of Jack Daniels, and I
Good
said,
friend
"All
of
right,
ours.
I'll go up there," and I won that. Then I went 2 days later to the Carlton Celebrity Room.
Yeah.
And Hank was there playing. And the funny part is I'm sitting at the bar there having a drink with my brother, and the music manager for the bar comes over, starts yelling at me, "What are you doing here?" And I'm all dressed up, you know. And I said, "Having a drink." And she goes, "Oh, you're not him." She thought it was Hank.
Well, you knew at that point.
Well, yeah. So then there's 5 guys. I was the 5th guy to come out on stage. And when I did, 2,000 people stood up and thought it was Hank when I came out on stage.
They thought you were coming
And it
out to
was
like
hands down, I won.
congratulate the other guys.
And then 4 days later, they flew me to Cullman, Alabama, to Montana Exchange, Hank's place. And then, I won the national. And then the newspaper there said I had a smile like a motion picture screen. And Hank didn't like that very much.
No.
Oh boy.
No,
Hey, Jill.
maybe, Danny, you can put that Hank picture back up. So there's Big Steve on the left. Hank
Yeah.
in
So
the
where
middle,
were
and-
you when you guys?
This is in his dressing room, and that's a bottle of Jim Beam behind us. And we were drinking out of it, but he wouldn't give it to anybody else in the room. Just me and him were drinking.
So yeah, I was gonna say, can you tell us about the first time you like physically met and talked to him?
That
And-
was the first time I met him, and he says, he looks at me and he goes, "It's like looking in the
It's like
effing mirror."
looking
You can
in
say
the
it.
effing mirror.
Looking in the fucking mirror. he
Yeah.
says.
we put our disclaimer out there. This one's a little. We're going yard in this episode.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. So
My
how was the
birthday's
conversation?
on the 28th of May, and his is on the 26th of May, but he's 2 years older than me.
Okay. And so what did he like? You come walk in the room and he said it's like looking in the mirror.
Yeah, like
And-
looking in the fucking mirror. Then we talked for a bit, and then we started drinking the Jim Beam. It was then, not Jack, but I drink Jack mostly.
Yeah.
And we drank that, and we talked a while, and then he had to go out and go on stage. And then
For his
another
show?
yeah, for his show.
And did you like stay in the green room or
Yeah,
what?
I was back there, and then I went out for the show too. And then afterwards, he came back, and we finished that bottle. So
Good
it was
for you.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people on the planet. Forgive me. There's not a lot of people on the planet that get to spend any time with Hank Jr. because he's kind of a recluse and he don't like people much.
Yeah.
Apparently, unless you look like him.
Oh, and then what's funny is one of the later times when he got off the airplane, he had a shirt on that said, "I'm the lookalike."
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did. When he got off the plane.
That's hilarious. People
Yeah.
are probably leaving him alone.
Yeah. He thought, they'll leave me alone then.
Okay, so after this meeting with him, then you leave that night or whatever. What happens after that as far as you and Hank Williams Jr.?
Okay, I went to Vegas 2 times a year, and I would be booked out there to do conventions, okay? And I'd just walk around casinos and gamble and stuff with security people, and then they gave me a free room and stuff.
So that people would think you were him.
My wife at the time was Marilyn Monroe lookalike. That's how we met. And so she did Marilyn Monroe and I did Hank Jr.
So hold on a second now. So the casinos would hire you to come in and pretend to be him.
Right.
At the conventions. They'd have a convention of something. Like, for instance, IDS Tower
Yeah.
in Minneapolis.
Yes.
The lady that owns that hired me to go there and do Are You Ready for Some Football with the Viking cheerleaders.
Yeah.
And so I did, and then everybody was there that works for IDS from out of town all over the world. They were there, and they kept saying, "Oh, we love you on Monday Night Football," and all that. I go, I'm the national lookalike for Hank Jr. You don't want to tell us you're really him? They go, and I go, I'm not him, but they wouldn't believe it no matter what. And they take pictures and you sign best wishes, Hank Jr., because that's what I was supposed to do.
Yeah, right. That is awesome.
Yeah, it was.
But
I
you were
met a
supposed
lot
to
of
sign
people.
him best wishes, Hanky Panky.
Yeah, Hanky Panky Jr.
A little hanky-panky going on.
But yeah, I was.
Only with Marilyn Monroe. Pay
like,
attention
hey,
here, Tom.
So I'm in Coleman, Alabama. It was a good one.
Yeah.
And I'm eating breakfast before I went to that other place, but I'm still dressed up, right?
Yeah.
And he gave me his Mercedes Benz, and it had both Cephas license plates, and I got to drive it around for 3 days down there. While
Hank let you use his
yeah,
car.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and that was part of the thing when you won. Whoever won got to do that.
Okay.
So I'm in the restaurant, and this pregnant lady comes over and lifts her shirt up and has a pen, and her husband's with her, and she goes, "Will you sign my stomach?" And I'm eating, my food's right there, and her stomach's right over my food. It was great.
Her pregnant
And
belly.
the girlfriend I'm with that I brought with me, she's going, "Wow," and so I signed it. And she
Best
put it
wishes,
back
Hank.
down, and I said, "But I'm just a lookalike. I'm not him." She goes, "Yeah, right." She walks away.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, it was some good
What a
times.
fun experience.
Good
Well,
times.
I've got some stories.
No.
Oh, yeah, you should say no.
Go ahead, Tom.
We'd be up in Thief River Falls drinking. He'd have his Hank stuff on. And we're in the Legion in Thief River Falls. And, we're with Dave Miller. We're with Pappy, who was a big guy we talked about. Showed pictures of Pappy.
So
on
they
the-
almost look like security for him at that point because they're just
All of us.
monsters.
Oh, that's so funny that you said that.
There's another story.
So anyway, we're in the Legion, and Steve's a big guy, 6'2". Pappy was like 6'4", Miller's like 6'6", and Wheels is 6'2", and all these big guys, and we're sitting there
And
having
there's
a
Tom,
drink.
5'9".
We're in a dark, we're in a dark bar, a Legion, and I'm looking across the room because I noticed that this table full of women, locals, are noticing who's sitting at our table. And at that point, I'm thinking, why are you wearing Hank stuff right now? These girls all of a sudden jump to their feet, throw the tables aside, and they're throwing chairs and tables aside, running towards our table. We're sitting right next to an exit, a fire exit. And we burst out of there because these girls were not fooling around.
They were big girls.
They were
too.
big girls. They were locals. Some of them were native, and they were coming full steam.
Yeah.
So this knucklehead.
Speaking of hanky panky,
This knucklehead turns to Pappy, and Miller says, "I thought you guys were on security. Come on, bro." And we're like, "Here's your security." Hey, bro, you're supposed to be on security.
Oh, what the
And
hell?
anyway, there was a lot of those
Oh,
stories
we had
too,
a lot of crazy times.
and a lot of fun. We had
I fired
a
them.
lot of fun. Yeah, we fired.
it's hard to find good help, Steve.
That's right.
We're going to continue the story after we're done filming.
Okay.
We're going to get the final truth on this deal.
All right, sounds good.
But so you spent how many years doing that?
85 was when I won, and I was doing it all the way up till 4 or 5 years ago. Was when
Really?
I haven't done it. Haven't done anything since. But I used to do like birthday parties for
Right.
the governor, Jesse Ventura,
Yeah.
because he loves Hank. So I'd show up for birthday parties and stuff.
I remember our old friend Bob McKay had you at the Calhoun Beach Club one night.
Yep.
Marilyn was there, and the Duke. The Duke, I have a picture of him. Actually, I have a framed picture
He was
of
a
him.
hell of a dude. Real
He
nice
used to
guy.
own the Diamond.
Diamond T horse ranch.
The Diamond what?
Diamond T.
Diamond T
That's a pretty
Horseback
famous ranch.
Yep, a big ranch.
That was down like in
Riding
Egan.
stables.
It's
South
still
of
there.
Egan.
Yep.
Yeah, it's still there.
What community is it in?
Egan.
Yeah.
Egan, yep.
And he owned that, and he used to come up on stage at the Wee Fest. He was up there with you one year.
Yeah.
And he talked just like John
He
Wayne.
did. He was.
He
just,
looked
he
just
looked
like
just
John
like him.
Wayne. But then when you got him aside and talked to him, he was really a fast talker. But he really did the deal right, and he signed all of his autographs to the Duke. And he was fun to have around.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those
He is a
lookalikes.
good guy. He really was.
He was a wonderful man.
Yeah.
And he had a thriving business with
He
the Diamond
really
T
did.
riding stables. Yeah, well, that's going back some years. That's kind of fun to talk about.
Matter
I
of
should say.
fact, me and him, I was out at his place, and we were sitting there one day, and these Indians came from Little Six.
Mm-hmm.
And
From where?
From Little Six, Mystic Lake.
Oh,
but it was just
okay.
Little Six at the time.
Yeah.
And they came and talked to me and him, and they wanted $5,000 to start the whole casino thing out there. $5,000 is all they wanted. And we turned it down because we didn't think it was going to happen. We'd be millionaires today.
Well,
Had the opportunity to get in on the ground floor.
You could have bought Apple when Apple wasn't Apple.
No kidding.
That's
Isn't
crazy.
It was two Indians, and they're the ones that started Little Six and the whole gambling thing. Out
Wow. That's an interesting little tidbit.
there. Yeah, that was me and John or Duke.
Right.
So now, when you were traveling around doing the Bocephus thing, you had a Rolls or something, didn't you? What were you
Oh
traveling?
yeah,
with?
No,
Packard,
Bentley.
a Packard 38 limousine.
Do we have a photo of that? So I remember backstage at, I think it was Wee Fest.
Yeah,
You had it
I
there.
had it back there. Yep, and a friend of mine. Matter of fact, I did a video. Country Boy Can Survive, and the car was in the video. And an old friend of mine, Fred O'Neill, he's dead now, but like a dad to me he was. And I came in from filming all day, and I said, "Bro, you got to see this car that I've been riding around in." And he said, "You like it?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, let's buy it."
Freddie O'Neill used to own all of the concessions in
Como Park.
at Como Park. He owned the rides and everything in the Como
Yeah.
Park.
Okay.
So we go to his house, which is on Lake Owasso, and I'm with the people that own the car, and he opens his safe up, and he throws stacks of $100 bills like this towards us, and we catch him and put him on his bar. And there's another story about that. But anyway,
Sure.
put it on the bar, and he goes, "Oh, give him back," because he's drunk, right? Give him back. So we think, oh, he's pulling one on us, wasting our time. So we threw him back, and he threw us 4 bundles of 20s, bigger bundles of 20s. He says, "Take that instead." But anyway,
Do we have a picture of that, Danny, of that old...
I met him, and he
Bocephus on the
pulled
side
a
of
gun at me at the Hoggsbreath, and one night, and I said, "You put it away, or I'll shove that up your ass." And sorry about the swearing.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Anyway, he goes, "You mean it?" And he put it away, and we became friends for life.
This is the guy from Como.
Yep, Freddie.
Fred.
Freddie...
So
Freddie's-
he bought me that car, and that was my Hankmobile for all
We do
while.
not have a picture.
Okay.
There was we should have taken some pictures from the Hoggsbreath. I know there's one on the wall there.
I have one on my phone somewhere.
Okay, maybe you can give that to Jill and they can find
Yeah,
it.
we go on break. We can find it.
As a
Yeah,
matter
we'll
of
get it on
fact,
break
me
for
and
sure.
Mel Tillis are standing by the car, and
Right.
I can't remember the other guy's name, but we got pictures of me in the car and them.
This kind of dates me, but Fred O'Neill, his father, and my father were
Wow.
good friends. We used to go to Como Park and visit him when we were kids. And I remember him and my dad talking, and then it turns out Freddie is his son, and
Yeah,
then the circle kind of came around again.
yeah.
Pretty crazy.
But Fred was a great guy. I
Yeah.
loved him, man. He was a real
He's
good
a very
man.
generous man. I remember he had a
One night we were drinking at his house, and he
No, you were
has
drinking?
a bar, and he lived with a St. Paul a sergeant, right? Was his good buddy, and so he had an Uzi under the bar, The guy is dead now, so I talk. But anyway, one night we were there, and
Freddie is? He's dead?
yeah, he
Yeah.
died, and that really killed me. Anyway, we're there, and all of a sudden we're drinking, and I'm sitting. I'd brought a girl over to his place, and we're sitting on this side of the bar, and he's behind it. And all of a sudden, he pulls a gun out and shoots this suit of armor in the corner and puts 5 holes in the heart. Well, I grabbed the girl and hit the floor, thinking somebody's going to kill me. And I come up and I go, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "It moved." I'm not lying. That's the truth.
Wow.
That suit of armor has 5 holes in it.
Wow.
He
That's
used
wild.
to have. He was really rich. He had 5-6 pounds of gold. There was gold bars. He had ivory. Well, when you could get the ivory,
Yeah.
tusks that were all carved, carved tusk and stuff. The guy was unbelievable. Matter of fact, that's where I got this, and it's real gold.
The
The
pistol.
gun is from the cufflinks.
What's the
on
one
shirt.
underneath the pistol?
That's Marine Corps.
Oh, the Marine Corps? Yeah.
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 Did you serve?
Yeah,
Oh, well, thank you for your service.
thank you.
My father also did the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Did 2 or 3 tours in Nam,
Yeah, 2.
or Nam, as they say, right?
Yeah.
Vietnam.
Vietnam. I missed that. Thankfully, I missed that. Steve and I think, are
Bone
the same
spurs.
age. Well, there was a draft back then, and
Yeah.
when I was in high school, I had a draft number, and they cut it off 2 numbers before my number was called. And, I didn't think one way or another about it. You're young, and you just do what you're told. And if I'd have gotten drafted, I'd have just gone and
Right.
done what they told me to do. But looking back, I'm pretty thankful that I didn't.
Yeah,
It was
bad.
a horrible, horrible, horrible war. I lost so many friends, and just to, it's so controversial. I probably shouldn't even say anything about it, but I'm sure the warriors that fought there probably agree with me that it's just kind of a political war, and it wasn't their kids going there and losing their lives. My best friend, guy from I went to high school with, he came back with some huge honors, and his best friend in the Marine Corps was James Stewart, the movie actor.
Jimmy
his
Stewart.
his son died in Vietnam, and my buddy Bill went over enemy lines and pulled his body back,
Wow.
and he got a big accolades for that. But he was one of the pallbearers at his funeral, and met a lot of celebrities and started dating Candace Bergman. I don't know how I got on this topic, but he would agree with me. It was a shitty, shitty war. A lot of young people died and just wasted
And
lives.
the ones that didn't got Agent Orange.
Yeah.
Or came back with severe PTSD and all that stuff.
And
That's how my
cancer.
dad is. He's just a situation where the joke in the family is, and I'm not that I'm old and I'm 44, but the joke has always been in our family that if you see him smiling, take a picture because it don't happen real often.
Yeah,
So it's one of those deals.
right on, brother.
So when you had this Packard,
Yeah.
did you use that for all your appearances?
Yeah.
So you come rolling up and people are like, this
Oh,
guy's
yeah.
legit.
Well, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you another one. There's so many that we could go on for
Yeah,
hours.
that's why you're here. We want to hear it.
One time I was in Brainerd and doing Hank up there, and I can't remember. It was a bar that had me come up there and
They paid you, right?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
I
you
got
get compensated?
$150 an hour just to
Wow.
stop in. And anyway, that
That's
Kurt,
stripper money. You kept your clothes
Kurt
on?
Henning, the bouncer, the wrestler, Kurt
Yeah,
Henning,
Mr.
his
Perfect.
his son was there, and we were talking, and everything was cool, and we didn't fight. I thought first we were gonna, but we didn't. And then I left there, and all of a sudden the police come around. The cars all over the place. And we had a police escort out of town because they thought that somebody was going to harass us. Another time we were doing 80 miles an hour at the Packard, and Fred was with me, and we had a driver. And Highway Patrolman put his lights on and shut them off like, slow down, Hank. That stuff happened all the time with that car because it had the Hank Ruger gun on the side of it, right? And the cops did it up in Battle Lake, too, where my folks are from. And my family, we'd go into town and go through town, and if they stopped me for anything, it was more to get an autograph than anything else. It was really fun.
That is fun.
Yeah.
What a cool experience.
Yeah, and the good part of it was I could take my stuff off and be me, where Hank can't, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't get to punch out.
No.
Which is kind of going back to what you were saying, TK, about him being a little bit of a recluse.
Yeah.
He needs to get away from the spotlight
Well,
a
you
little
know,
bit.
as famous as his father was,
Yep.
and all that he had been through, I totally understand why he has an attitude. I mean, people want him to do this, and they're tugging on him to do this, and your time isn't your own. And, you know, he, you know, the way he looks, the reason he wears sunglasses,
Yep.
he fell off a mountain in Montana.
586 feet.
Yeah, he
on
fell
his
off a
face.
mountain, and he opened up his skull. He's got a steel plate in his skull, and, you know, he had to have some
One eye.
operations. So that's why he grew a beard and
And
sunglasses.
Isn't it nice when you have a partner, a friend like him, that says to you, you know, it's pretty funny that you look like a guy that fell off a mountain on his face.
You look just like a guy that smashed the hell out of his face.
His face.
You're
What a
thinking,
dick.
I'm not sure what to say
Yeah,
there.
I know. What an asshole.
Should I be
You didn't have to
thanking
fall
you?
off a mountain to look like that.
Well, you had plenty of dust-ups, it sounds like, over the years. And so, yeah, you know,
I hear you.
face takes a little bit of a beating there.
It did.
You can't dodge all the punches.
No, I still got my teeth. That's good.
That is good.
Oh, man. Yeah, so anyway, I was saying, you know, I can understand why Hank's got that attitude. You know, I mean, the media, and you know how the media is. The media just beats you up, and they say whatever they want to say about. So he just, it's like hell with everybody, and
Yeah,
I'm
that's
going to do my
understandable.
own thing. If you don't like it, too bad.
Have you told Steve the story about Hank at WeFest with the chopper and all that?
Yeah.
You may have heard it. I think I don't know that you were there that
I
year.
was.
Or you were that.
Yep.
Because I think we
Were you
had
on the clock?
No, I was there because WeFest had me come up there for that week.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I remember you were sitting with me on the side of the stage, and
Yep.
Waylon walked by.
Yeah.
And Waylon looks and he goes, he
Yeah.
looked and goes, and he double-taked again, and then he went out and performed. Because Waylon and Hank are real
tight. Matter
Real
of fact,
tight.
that's another story. As Coleman, Alabama, I pull into the gas station right across from the Montana Exchange and to get gas. And the guy comes out, he's got one arm, and he owns the station, and he says, "Get the fuck out of here." And I said, "What?" And he goes, "Get out of here." And I said, "Why? I want to get some gas." And he goes, "Oh, you're not him." He goes, and I said, "Why? What you mad about?" And he said, "Him and Waylon came in here with a convertible," he says, "last week, and they pumped gas, and then they were so high they took off. Took off and pulled the pump out, and with my one arm I lost hundreds of gallons of gas." He said, "I couldn't shut it off." And he says, "I got a lawsuit going with him."
Wow.
That's the truth.
That once you spoke, you realized you weren't him.
And so I got my gas from him, and we were friends then. But he was all mad at first. He thought it was Hank coming in to rub it in his face.
Did you have many encounters on the negative side like that? Because I've seen a lot of positive stuff.
That mostly was positive, but sometimes like that would happen. Like that was one of the worst, where the guy
Because
says,
Hank was
"Get-"
notorious for getting drunk or
Oh,
high or
yeah.
whatever and doing
Oh,
crazy
man.
stuff.
Yeah.
That episode at the WeFest, he flew into Fargo, had the highway patrol. No. Let me get this straight because it's been a long, long time.
Yeah.
We had a guy giving people helicopter rides, and Pablo,
Yep.
he went to the Detroit Lakes Airport and picked him up, flew him over. He got out of the helicopter, ran down into the ditch along Highway, 59 there, and jumped into a patrol car, a highway
Yeah.
patrol. And the cop's like, "What in the world are you?" And he says, "I'm Hank Jr. take me backstage. He was just kind of paranoid. I don't know
Yeah.
what he was doing. And so the cop wasn't real thrilled about all of that, how it happened. But he drove him backstage.
Right.
And then he got up on stage and just was a maniac, breaking stuff, chairs and equipment. And so he's always had an attitude.
Yeah, he has.
Well, it's quite a life that he's led with, any celebrity to that level. Like you said, aside from his family
Yeah.
and basically being born into Hollywood or being born into music royalty.
Yeah, I mean,
But
it
he's-
don't get no bigger than Hank Williams.
Yeah,
Right.
Senior.
like the song Man of Steel.
Yeah.
My daddy died when I was 3.
Yeah.
That's just exactly the story of his life, And
Yeah.
his mama didn't bounce him off her knee. She put him on stage when he was 7 years old because she lost Hank, a senior.
She used him to make some money.
Yep, and she put him
Singing
on
Hank
stage
songs.
and made him
Singing his dad's stuff.
Yep,
And you know
made
why he
him-
calls himself the Man of Steel? Because the steel plate in his head.
Yep.
I did not know that.
I am a huge, huge fan of Hank Williams Jr. and his music.
Yeah, me too.
I did a little deal with him. Forgot about that. The Hawaiian Tropic swimsuit competition.
Yeah.
Is that they had the national finals in Minneapolis, and we all were on stage before a Hank Williams concert. Lynn was with me, and Skip Humphrey was with us. Remember Skip?
Yes.
And his wife, and I was emceeing it, and that's where Hank met his wife. She was a Hawaiian Tropic swimsuit
Yep.
finalist, and
Yeah,
they won.
remember
I
that.
think they're still together. I guess I don't know. Maybe Killer Kyle or someone can figure that out if he's still married to her. But and then I got to introduce Hank, and it was a fun night. And then we sat in the front row and watched his show, and he tore it up and got crazy as always.
Coleman, Alabama is a dry county, but Jim Beam brought me some private stock, a whole case of private stock, and they brought it into his manager's office, and so and I brought a whole bunch back with me, but we had booze even though it was a dry county.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, boys, as much fun as this is, we got to keep the lights on. So we take a little break and promote the sponsors.
Yeah, we can dig up some old memories, and
We'll get a photo of the Packard. And when we come back, TK, we'll dig right back into Hank Williams. Into Big Steve over
That's
here.
right.
Sleepy Steve.
Stick
Come on.
around,
Sleepy
folks.
Steve,
Let's
man,
bring it up
you're
to
gonna
modern
get it.
day.
We'll be right back with Steve. Boots and Backstraps is proudly brought to you by Homes by Shane. Making your move with the Homes by Shane team means an unparalleled customer service experience. That level of service is the foundation of this RE/MAX Results referral-based business. Our driven team of experts communicate with their clients every step of the way, ensuring a memorable experience from the first conversation through your closing day. Go to homesbyshane.com for more information. Let's get you home. If you would like to sponsor the Boots and Backstraps podcast, or you have an interest in joining our team, send us an email to bootsandbackstrapspodcast@gmail.com.
Come on now.
TK,
Come on now.
good job on holding off for the beat there. Lynn wasn't in here when that happened, otherwise she probably would have died laughing too.
Yeah.
So we have this for the people that are listening or watching, as this is being recorded. We have a production piece where when Danny's filming, our producer Danny Geo Productions, when it comes back from the break or when we're first starting the show out of our intro, there has to be a little bit of a pause there before we start talking as it catches up. Everything aligns electronically. And Tom was so excited to get started that literally as soon as the screen popped up, he was like, "Come on now." I was like, "You know that. God, come on."
That was funny.
It was.
I don't know anything.
Well, anyway, we're back with Steve, TK.
I used to think I knew a lot, but I don't know much. How you doing, Steve?
Real good.
Hanky Panky, old brother of mine,
Right on.
head of security,
Manager.
Sleepy Steve,
Hey, that's enough of that.
stealing my girlfriend, Steve.
Uh-oh. Yeah, we could, before we get to like more modern times, I want to get back into the Wayback Machine. Talk for a minute about when you guys first bought the club. Because, as I said before, Tommy, dropped some very incendiary stuff about
I heard it.
the reason why you, kind of exited stage left, as an owner there. Something about you chasing a little ass out west.
Yeah.
That's
That's
not the
not
truth?
how it happened.
Bottom line is Big Steve is a very irresponsible son of a gun. Wait a minute. Look what we got. There's that doesn't show much of the car, but there's
That's the Packard.
Yep,
the
Packard
Packard.
limousine.
And
They
that,
only
you know who
made
that
10
is?
of them. There was
That
only
is my
10 of them.
old friend Mel McDaniel.
Yep.
How many of you folks know or can remember a Mel McDaniel song? Stand Up, Louisiana Saturday Night.
That's right.
Oh, you kick down the fiddle and you kick down the bowl.
He's a good guy.
What a great guy. We had
That's
him.
my ex-wife. She died of cancer.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Oh, I didn't know she died.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's kind of puts
Where
a
was this
sad
picture-
note on a
where was the
happy
picture taken?
This is at We Fest. We were backstage with the car.
And you're in Hank gear, obviously.
Yeah. And then Mel came over to the car and we took a picture with him.
So that was a Packard limo, you said?
Packard limousine, 1932 Packard limousine. They only made 10 of them.
Can I ask you a question? Did it have suicide doors on the back?
Yeah,
Yep.
I think it did.
Yeah.
He lent me that car for my sister Rosie for her wedding. They tooled around in that thing on their wedding.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, so for the listening audience or the viewing audience, if you don't know what suicide doors are, they're doors that open the opposite direction, right?
Right, in
It's
the
called-
back.
Call them suicide doors.
Do
Yeah,
you
and
remember our
I'm-
conversation with Dave Miller?
As opposed to Lambo doors when they open up.
Do you remember our conversation with Dave Miller? When
which
he
one?
and I were kids, we were hunting in northern Wisconsin with his father in his old Lincoln Continental that had suicide doors, and he referred to me as the jackass that, while we were driving, opened a rear door to spit or do something, and the thing flew open.
Because of the wind.
Pull you right out.
Oh, yeah, and it sprung the hinges, but, they're mechanics and they got it fixed, but boy, did I catch heat for that for years and years and years.
Do you think you'll bring it up at deer camp this year?
Yep.
I don't know, Shane, will you be there?
I was just going to say, I don't know. Will I be there?
Yeah, you will be there.
Is this official? Because it's being filmed. Boys, do I have an invite to deer camp?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't you,
You
got to
know,
run it past Tommy DeRay?
And, not that I want to take credit for anything. It's just that when I met Tommy in 78 and we started talking and getting to be friends, I said, I go deer hunting every year. And Tom says, well, I've got a big farm up in northwestern Minnesota. And I looked at him and I said, well, how big? Hundreds of acres. I said, are there deer up there? And he says, there's tons of deer up there. I said, well, let's go up there. And so I kind of took the role as the person that invited. I mean, obviously Steve, Tommy, and I were the first ones to do that.
Right.
And then I think maybe Dennis was with us. And then I invited Dave and I invited Wheels.
Yep.
And they kind of left it up me to do the inviting. But obviously, if they wanted to invite somebody too, they would.
Yeah.
Like your brother
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But Bill.
That was your
Bill,
brother, right?
Yep.
I don't know if we've even brought it up. We probably have, but Shane here, my good friend and partner, is a survivor of cancer, and
Twice.
Yeah.
And that is
amen.
pretty spectacular.
Amen. I love you, buddy.
And
You too, brother.
like Danny said, he runs around with one nut, but he still produced 4 kids, and
Only 2 since I gave up the other ball.
Which is still
One nut, but he's still nuts.
Yeah, there it is. Exactly.
I can't believe
That's
we're talking this.
that was like one of the like first questions people would ask after the whole thing happened. They're like, "Well, does it does it still work? And can you still have kids?" And I was like, well, "Yeah." So that sort of like funny, not funny is when we first found out that I had cancer, and they were like, "We're gonna have to take one out because that's where the cancer was, the first round of cancer." And the doctor is like, the two questions that they always ask are, do you want to like freeze some in the event that you're not fertile again in case you guys want to have kids? And being proud Catholics are like, no, we don't do that, you know. And the second thing is he's like, well, do you want a prosthetic? Which like at first I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, like they make them and they're like, you know, very natural feeling and all this stuff. And I was like, that just, yeah, I don't know about that. And I looked at Emily and she was kind of looking at me and she was like, well, I guess it's up to you. And I was like, I don't think I need that. You know, I'm not that, like my testicles or my beanbag is not out on display for everyone to see at times. So really my wife and I are the only ones that know that it's, you know, a 2-bedroom apartment with one renter in it. So it's like,
Funny.
That's not true. Everyone knows.
well, I'm just saying that I've seen it anyway. So it's like, I don't need that, you know, where it's filled out on the other side. Like, who cares? I don't care.
Yeah,
It was a little weird at
I
first.
sure was happy to hear that you've beat it.
Thank
I
you.
really was.
Thank
That
you.
was a
Yeah,
good
appreciate
day
it.
in my life when I heard that.
Appreciate that very much. Yeah, it was awesome.
I was praying hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
a
it's
lot
like
of folks were praying for you, Shane.
well, the benefit that you guys put together, Danny and Travis and Tiffany, and I know Tom, you and Lynn were there. That was unbelievable to see all those people
Me
at the
and Tom were
doghouse.
there,
Yeah, I saw you guys.
Yeah, you know, it's nice when your back's up against the wall to know that there's a lot of people that do love you.
I don't think Pat was
that
there. I
care
think he
about
was in jail, sleeping it off. I know. I know. Sleeping it off, you know.
We don't take him out to too many social functions.
Again,
Yes.
Cowboy Pat, walk around, grab that beer and walk around the backside of Big Steve there and put your face on the camera
yeah,
here
come
for a
on
second.
over here.
Let people see you for a minute here. We
So-
keep talking about you.
People know who we're talking about now.
Lucky I'm not X-rated today.
I know.
Now, all of you girls,
Might be the first time ever you're not X-rated.
Hey, get your head down.
get a
here,
little bit
Zoe.
lower and move over to your left.
Yeah.
Your left.
Yeah,
Right there. Now
you
get
go.
lower.
There,
Look
there,
at the
there.
camera.
That's what people can see on the screen there.
Now, how many of you ladies that are watching the program right now remember making the mistake of having a couple of beverages with that one?
Uh-oh.
0.
You know, Tommy used to say something about
We're pre-recorded.
The Brokeback Mountain.
Oh, you want me to share that story?
Go ahead. 'Cause
All
I
right,
already-
Cowboy
I already
Pat
got
used
the
to-
comeback, so.
You got to come back now?
Oh.
Oh no, that's
Well,
no, go ahead.
You know, at the Rowdy Cowboy Show, you know, I knew a lot of the people, and I knew Pat, and he had a buddy from Texas that would
Everybody
come into
knows
the
Pat.
show. And one night I said, ladies and gentlemen, there's Cowboy Pat in Texas, Philly. Some of you may know them, and for those of you that don't, they're stunt doubles. They do some Western stunt doubles, and their most recent
This is not going to end well.
Mine's even better. So.
Okay, all right, good.
their most recent venture was Brokeback Mountain. So they're standing there all puffed up and talking, and I said their most recent venture was Broke Mountain. And I hit them with the spotlight, and they kind of shrunk and hid under her chair. And I said, that big one, he was the one given, that little one was the one taken. And the little one happened to be Pat.
See, I always say that.
Oh, wait a minute, they can't hear you. You don't have a microphone. You don't need to give them one either.
Oh, that's good.
A little self-defense, I
See,
think.
my
Pat.
comeback would be Tom was the stunt mouth in that movie. So.
Oh, there it goes.
I
Our
like
G
it.
rating went right out the window.
Body double. I think he was a body double.
That's good, brother.
If we were monetized on YouTube, this one would not be getting any money. Where were we with Steve? Poor guy.
Oh, I was going to say one time up at Wee Fest, my family was up there, and he came over to their camp where we were, by the cars where we were sitting, and he said, I feel so sorry for you to my brothers and sisters that they had to be related to me.
Ouch.
And he talked for an hour telling them how sorry he felt for them.
Who did?
Pat.
Oh, jeez.
And by the time he left, I was like feeling pretty rough, like I should beat him up or something. And my family goes, God, we like him. I wish he'd come back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk
And
about
all he
under the
did is
bus.
put me down.
Under the bus.
Under the bus.
That was his job.
This
Whatever.
episode's off the rails already.
Yeah. Michael Jordan was up there one year and celebrating with his friends. He was backstage with me. Michael Jordan will be on next week's episode. We've
Yep.
been talking about him as one of our sponsors, maybe. Anyways, my godson, and he walked into the backstage latrine, the Jimmy John. I don't know if that's the right one. Anyway, the portable
Porta
John.
potty. Porta John.
Porta potty. And Knucklehead walks in right behind him. He'd never met him in his life. He's got his...
But you knew who he was? Okay. So it was a sneak
he's
attack.
freaking out. After a couple minutes...
Oh, you know Andrew.
He comes barreling out of there, white as a ghost, eyes as big as, who the hell was that pervert in there with him? We're all out there laughing. Because the problem was, just going in there is one thing, but he reached around and he wanted to hold it for him.
Oh, my God.
That's what really threw him.
Oh boy.
Gosh.
You are something.
Yeah, he'll go to any lengths for a good joke.
He really will.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's cost him several relationships.
All right, Steve.
Yeah.
So back to the self-defense here. So as we said, Tommy DeRay was saying you chased some filly out west.
Yeah.
What's
no,
the truth of
Brandy.
all that?
I did never do
Brandy,
that.
you did too.
Brandy. No, I liked Brandy a lot. But that isn't... I ended up leaving and going up to Battle Lake area where my family's from and renting a cabin for the summer. And it was a whole new girl I had and everything. It was a different girl that I had staying up there with me. So Brandy wasn't in the picture.
He's had years to rearrange these stories.
That is
years.
not true.
So you must have
remember
liked this
Brandy.
girl something fierce if you got out of the bar business.
I didn't do that. It was nothing to do with Brandy.
Okay.
It was Dave. My hands were black and blue from my knuckles to my wrist. Because every night I'd go to work, I'd have to beat somebody up that Dave had messed around with, somebody's wife.
Yeah.
And it was
That's not
sometimes
good.
2 or 3 big guys would come in, and it'd be one guy that he messed around with his wife, but it'd be 3 of them to beat him up, and I'd have to take him on. It was just crazy. So I took off for a 6-month period. Then when I came back, it just, Dave was gone, and we talked and said, we just work together and be there. So that's how it ended up. But
So
it
whatever
ended
happened
up-
to this other Dave guy?
It ended up on a sour note because we were in Thief River Falls staying at the Best Western where they had live entertainment, and at the back bar, somebody came in the back entrance, and all of a sudden all hell broke loose. Big Steve and Tommy Dre chased this individual
I
out
beat
into the
him up.
parking lot. The guy got in his car and sprayed rocks all over him and everything to get away, and it turns out it was Dave.
And then I got him at Wee Fest once, too. Knocked him out.
So he snuck in the back of this Thief River Falls bar.
Yeah, the Best Western. He came in the back door, but they knew me there, very well. So when I did that, they said, I said, he's an asshole. And they said, okay, buddy. They let us back in, and we just partied the rest of the night.
And then you saw him at a later date at Wee
At
Fest.
Wee Fest, and I knocked him down. And, the guy was, I fought for him so many times, it was ridiculous. Because he'd do the mean things to women. And I'll tell you, I don't have no respect for anybody that does that.
Right. Oh, boy.
I got a story I
Here's-
wanted to tell.
there we go.
about the-
Here's you and the Man in Black.
All right.
I remember that.
A good man there.
Yeah, Johnny.
I really loved him. He was a very
nice man.
religious man and just down to earth. There was nothing bad about him.
Oh, no.
Quite the movie made up about him. They called it Walk the Line.
Yeah.
He and Reese Witherspoon did, or Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon
Reese Witherspoon won the Best Actress.
as June Carter.
And
Joaquin.
I'm sorry, Joaquin did not win as he should have.
Yeah,
He
did
lost to. I'm sorry, they're just not coming off the top of my head. But he lost to the guy that portrayed Andy Warhol.
Oh, wow.
Remember the Andy Warhol movie? They did
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Philip Seymour Hoffman. He won the Best Actor award that
Capote.
year, and everyone was mad because Joaquin should have won.
Yeah.
Yep.
He doesn't know about my anniversary. Just kidding.
What was
What
that?
What
No, I don't know. She mumbled something. I don't know. I didn't hear her.
what story did Steve want to tell?
Sorry, what's that?
What story did Steve want to tell?
Yeah, well, you were going to tell me something on the break. Is that appropriate for the show?
Oh, yeah. It's not. Just one of the funny things that happened over the years at the Hoggsbreath. So this guy's on the deck, and he gets knocked out, right? And I go out there, I gave him a sternum rub, and I get him up, and I go, what happened? And he goes, I don't know, he says, but the guy didn't have nothing to back it up. And I start laughing a little bit, and I said, what are you talking about? And he says, I don't know, I was arguing with this guy, and all of a sudden, you're talking to me, but the guy was gone, he must not have had nothing to back it up. And I said, okay. I said, probably you're good. I checked him out, and I said, probably should go home. He goes home, comes in the next day, and he goes, man, I must have got hit last night. He says, my face really hurts.
He didn't remember any of it.
He didn't even know he got knocked out.
He didn't have nothing to back it up.
No, the guy didn't have
He's on his back.
For 6 months, we would all laugh and say the guy didn't have nothing to back it up.
That is
It
fantastic.
must have been a fast punch because he obviously didn't see it.
He didn't see it hit.
Or he got
him.
hit by one of his buddies, because that can happen too.
Yeah, you betcha. But I'll never forget it.
That makes me more mad than anything. All the years in the bar business is, I don't know if you know, Steve, but the bar business is in my family. My uncle is Richie Rich.
Oh, right. I know him well. He's a good guy.
Yeah,
I
so
like
Sharks
him.
Waterworks, Club Cancun,
He's
like
been
all that
a
stuff
friend
over
of
the years.
mine for years.
Yeah, so he, so I've been kind of
I didn't know that.
We should have him on one of the shows.
Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah,
I mean, he doesn't do country, but he can talk about the bar business.
Talk about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really funny. So I was having a conversation with him, like, I don't know how many years ago this was. It must have been at least a decade ago, 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, when I was thinking about getting in the bar business. I was thinking about opening up a spot because I was DJing at all these places and really loved it, and everybody,
Right.
everybody in the business knew me at that time, and I was like, it'd be great to just open up, even if it's not like a big club like one of his, something like that.
Right.
And so I'm talking to him on the phone, and I'm like, hey, Unc, give me some wisdom, the pearls, like just help me to avoid making all the mistakes that you made. Just let's skip to the end here and get right to success. He goes, I got one, word of advice for you, nephew. And I was like, all right, I'm listening. I'm like on the
Don't
phone,
do it.
listening real close. And that's exactly what he said. He goes, don't do it.
Yeah.
He goes, don't think about it. It's a absolute shit show. It's a lot of work. It's pain and suffering. It's a lot of frustration. Says, you think you work a lot now. Wait till you own a nightclub or own a bar. It's nonstop. You're never off the clock kind of thing.
I was great friends with Rich for many years. I did a lot of consulting with Rich back in his early days. And we maintained a wonderful friendship over the years. I haven't seen him in a long time.
No, me neither. But yeah,
It'd be fun to have Rich on the show.
he always showed me great respect. Good man.
He is a good man.
He'd be quite the character to have on.
You bet.
Oh, boy. What's this? What's going on with this one here? Road Warriors, right?
Yeah. I was bartending at a club with him and Hawk. And
Boy, that's
Is that
close
Animal?
back.
Is that right? Animal?
yeah, that's Animal and then Hawk. And he's behind me. We were bartending.
What bar was this?
You guys were bartending?
That was Marsh's bar.
Oh, really?
Yep, Marsh's bar.
Downstairs?
Downstairs, yep.
I worked there for a while.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
were
an
some good old
80s
boys.
wrestling throwback.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They were big boys, I'll tell you that.
They were pretty big. We had them come out to El Gatos in River
Yeah.
Falls.
Yeah.
Hawk and Animal. Man, the people turned out for that.
I was
They were
out
wildly
there a
popular.
few times, too.
And in
I
your
liked
Hank gear?
it. Huh?
In your Hank gear?
I came on out
Yep,
with Hank a couple times.
Yeah, Steve was out there. You know what? We used to have just loved the guy, and he used to be a running back for the Vikings, Darren Nelson,
Oh, yeah.
back in that day.
Number
He'd come
20,
out-
if I believe. Is that right? 20?
What's that?
He was number 20, wasn't
I think so. Darren was a
he? Yeah,
great
Kyle
guy.
would know. Kyle? Is Darren Nelson number 20?
Speaking of Kyle, did
believe
you
so.
ever find that photo of Hank Jr.'s wife with the Hawaiian Tropic?
Do we have that one?
There
it
she is.
Oh, you betcha.
What's her name?
I don't remember.
I don't either.
Kyle had her name.
I can't remember.
Yeah, when you
Give
get
me
us.
one moment.
Yeah, look and see if they're still together, because that was something that
Yeah.
came up in
It
conversation.
ain't
Yeah.
like he only had one. I'll tell
It shows that they're still married, from what I saw.
Good for them. That's awesome.
you. That's right.
Well, you have to be a patient woman to marry any celebrity.
Is she a Dolly impersonator?
No, she was a Hawaiian Tropic Swimsuit Competition finalist.
What is the deal with her purse? Is it round? Sorry.
It's a catch.
Mary Jane Thomas.
Weird to me.
Mary Jane Thomas.
Mary
Yeah,
Jane.
there it is.
Seems to me in this conversation you mentioned that old Bo Cephas liked to partake in a little Mary Jane. Is it Mary Jane like a euphemism for marijuana?
Yeah. Yeah, he does all kinds of things.
Or at least he used to.
He used to, yeah.
He's you got to remember, he's a couple years older than you and I.
know.
So he's just about
He had
70
to slow
then.
down.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that happens to everybody, right?
Yeah.
You enjoy it while
It
you
happened
can.
to me. It happened to him.
Oh, I'm definitely in a slower lane than I used to be. Oh, here we go. You and Reba.
Reba, yep.
I had a shtick that I used to do at the Hogger when we were doing the Rowdy Cowboy show,
She's really cool.
where I talk about, I'd be like, look, I would love to be with Reba, and I don't even care that she's 105.
You know, when I
beautiful
met her,
woman.
she said, "You're way better looking than Hank."
Ah, yes.
She did.
Fantastic. You don't get a compliment from somebody better than Reba.
No shit.
How'd
I
he
love
take
her.
that?
She's good.
Yeah, well, he probably doesn't watch this podcast. Maybe you will, and then you'll get a call.
No, I know he. I think he knows about it.
That's funny. That is fantastic. So in the modern generation, he was hinting about all the different names you've had over the years. So in our era of Rowdy Cowboy Show, obviously Steve, you're still working at Hoggsbreath at the time.
Danny, you're going to have to do some master editing on the next few comments here, I think.
So
I got a bleeper.
we would always, we would look for ways that we could make different people or different elements at the club part of the show. That was part of the thing, right?
Right.
Because you'd have regulars or you'd have celebrities that would pop in and say hi, or other local DJs or whatever. Always make a point to give them a little love while you're in the show,
Right,
shout
right.
out, right?
Right.
So we always, and still do, obviously, love Steve. Have always loved Steve forever, decades. Love him, but you make love to him? That seems weird.
Hey, watch it.
Watch it. So every Monday night, Steve's up there working the front door. He's doing IDs or whatever, and we would joke because there's a TV screen right above the table that he's at.
I was
While
watching.
people are coming in. So he'd have, his shows that he would watch on Mondays. And so we used to always joke about how we'd get later in the night, and we'd start calling him Sleepy Steve. Because he'd get real comfortable in that chair and lean back in it a little. And as soon as you'd see the arms cross, you knew
that's
you knew he was getting tired.
All the other
I had
televisions had a sporting event on, and
Yes.
his had soap operas on.
No,
Oh.
it didn't. Westerns.
Our joke was always he's watching reruns of Murder, She Wrote. So he'd always be like, there's Sleepy Steve up there with his cup full of Metamucil.
I had her under control.
Drinking his Metamucil, watching Murder, She
Oh,
Wrote.
no. I had
Steve
her
is
under
the-
control.
So-
I couldn't sleep. Everybody that came in said, "Hey, Steve, what's up?"
Yep. So the funny thing is every week we do this, obviously, became part of the show, was part of the act. And when we would do it, he didn't have a mic, but you could hear him all across the bar, even with music in the background. He'd be back there and be like, fuck you, bitch! Every single week. It was the best. So at the point where it was like, that was almost more entertaining than whatever we were going to say.
That's the truth.
It was hilarious. So Sleepy Steve.
How many times have you heard that, Cowboy Pat? Thousands of times. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we had a lot of nicknames for him up in the hunting camp.
You son of a breaks it and throws it, pitches like Abney.
I should tell that story
You
because
please
it
do.
is unbelievable.
I'm
And
just like, I
I
feel
do
like,
have
what?
to hand it to Steve on two accounts. He didn't kill me, first of all, and anyway, we were just being stupid.
Yeah.
I took a Tom Collins class, and this is really going to show some ignorance on my behalf.
But we
I
were-
shouldn't even tell, but we were young and
we
dumb,
were
and we were
partying,
screwing around,
too.
and we were partying. I'm at the door end of the bar. He's at the other end of the bar, and that whole soffit wasn't even there. And I broke a glass and I threw it at him. And as
Like a
it's headed-
fastball.
And Tom's a former professional baseball player, so
Yeah.
this is coming at you hot.
That was
And I'm
hot.
noticing, man, that's headed right for his head. And he goes like this, bing, and he caught that glass. He caught the bottom of the glass like that. "You dirty!" He looks at me, and I'm like,
I'm going to die.
You got
like-
the same look.
well, first I'm stunned that I was stupid enough to do that. Then I was like blown away that he actually caught the thing before it hit his head and never even cut himself. And then the third thing was he didn't charge down there and beat me up. He just threw it in the trash can and went back to business.
Wow. Wow.
I'll never
another-
forget it. though.
Another day at the office.
So did you, when he yelled at you, so you look up and you see this glass coming?
Yeah.
And just,
And I went boom, and it caught it.
your ninja reflexes.
And I said, "You son of a bitch."
So it's a busted glass, and you got to catch it out of midair. Oh, here we go.
Oh, look at that old picture.
Oh, boy.
Cowboy Pat's in there, Big Steve,
This is
myself,
2014.
brothers.
Kid
2014.
Cowboy George and
So this
Shane.
this must have been just a regular Rowdy Cowboy show, and you came in to visit, huh?
Yeah, because I don't have a cowboy hat on.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
we must have just all been there. I don't remember that picture, but
Us
that's a good
three,
one.
You were there, too, so.
I actually
Came
took
up
that
to see
picture.
us, I bet.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, that's from my phone.
Oh, fun.
You'd think Pat's got a thing for motorcycles because he's wearing a Harley Davidson shirt in that photo. He's wearing one right now.
I love him.
Well, he's got a Harley Davidson.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, fantastic.
Two of them.
Who's that in the background there? Sleepy Steve.
This
That
might have been a
would
Pat
love
thing because this I have another picture of Pat taking a shot on
Watch it.
I don't know March of 14.
Okay, you got it?
I like it.
Look how young Travis and I look. Baby faces.
What year is that? I don't even know.
She said 14.
14?
Wow.
Wow.
I feel
Wow.
I feel a little empathy for the people that don't watch the video of our show because quite often we're looking at things on the screen and they don't get to see it. And I guess that's just the nature of things.
Demon Travis, look at those eyes.
Look at that. Now, he is a what do you call them? Vampire.
Vampire. This has to be like early RCS because you can see it's our original logo there.
Yeah.
That was the first logo that we came up with, or Danny created for us.
Where's your logo?
Over on the
Right
left
behind
screen.
you guys.
That was a damn rowdy. I'm drinking MGD. Is that MGD?
Yep, sure is.
Travis's eyes get that way when he loses his pants.
I don't see him hanging up behind him, so this must have been early in the night.
That was a rowdy cowboy drink.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, one of Maggie's specials.
One of Tomcat
I like it.
specials.
Oh, you
Jack Daniels and Southern Comfort.
you created that.
Yeah.
Jim Beam and Southern Comfort.
Well, then it turned to Jack Daniels. And,
Yeah, we came in. It was like Beam is out the door. Sorry, Jim.
yeah.
That's right.
I think
Nothing wrong with bourbon. I love bourbon.
I couldn't stand either one of them. All them times you made me drink them, I couldn't stand it.
Well, I liked it.
It's amazing how your body gets fine-tuned to...
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah, because some people are tequila people, and they can drink 10 shots of tequila, but they can't drink other stuff. I'm like that. 'Cause my wife's a big tequila person. She can't have whiskey, and I like tequila, but I can drink a dozen shots of whiskey just about, and well, in my heyday, and walk out of the bar almost stone cold sober.
Right.
But you gave me 2 shots of tequila, and you're carrying me out. It's weird how your body just like acclimates to that. I had that
It is
same thing.
amazing. That is.
They
I
wrote
had the
a
same
song
thing
about
with Jack
that.
and Jim. I could drink a ton of Jack, but I have, a few Jim drinks or whatever, and I'd be hammered.
They wrote a song about that tequila and Big C, though, how tequila makes his clothes fall off.
Something about clothes coming off?
No, I'll tell
Actually,
you.
I
though,
think that was any form of alcohol.
Ah!
we were.
See, you and Travis had that in common.
We went and seen Jimmy Buffett, me and Tom DeRay one night, and I was fine. We drank a lot, and I was fine till we got back to the Hoggsbreath, and we got that the new tequila, the Patron.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I have to drink his shot too because the guy's such a wimp. But
You talking about this guy?
no, Tom DeRay.
Oh.
So he tasted it because we hadn't tasted it before. It just came out. He tasted it and he goes, "Here, you finished that, will you?" So I drank that one, and I actually had a headache in the morning. And that's the only time in my life I've ever had a drink.
Tommy
and
DeRay and tequila did not mix.
No, he would have kicked people within 15 minutes.
I can't wait to give him a hard time about the kicking people thing. I'm an old martial artist myself. I trained for 15 years. I had a first degree in traditional Taekwondo and then a third degree in Americanized Taekwondo and dabbled a little in American and Muay Thai kickboxing.
Right on.
And so for you to say he's just kicking people and you were talking about him jumping up and kicking stuff, I was like, that's like a page out of my book. I used to do that too. jump up and kick stuff randomly. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's a martial arts thing.
It's a show-off thing, and that's good.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a martial arts thing. Gosh, martial arts is so. I got all the way up to a yellow belt in
all the way up. He's not telling you yellow belt's the second one in the line.
Mover and a shaker.
It was white before the bathroom.
Weeblo.
Yes, it was a white belt and then a yellow belt. Wait a minute, I got an orange belt.
Oh boy, right up there in the
watch out. But I can
step
imagine,
3 of 12.
He
I can
got that
imagine
after
people that have
it was
gone
washed
through the
a few
martial
times
arts.
and faded.
That's right up there with syphilis there, isn't it?
I can imagine being a martial arts guy and having a few too many and then wanting to
Oh yeah.
look at Elvis.
You think you're invincible.
Yeah,
Like, look what I can do.
that was Tommy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh man,
that is so funny.
it is.
So, funny tequila story for you boys.
Yeah.
Just now that Tom can actually talk about it on the episode, took my wife on a surprise trip to Mexico. She graduated with her doctorate in the middle of April. So I surprised her at her graduation ceremony with this trip that I had been planning for over a year. So local celebrity musician Chris Brooks, he and his wife Lisa are friends of ours. They own a condominium, 2-story condo that's like breathtaking right on the ocean in this little fishing community called Sayulita, which is just north of Puerto Vallarta.
right?
So Chris and I got our heads together a year and a half ago, and I said, hey, I'm thinking since you own this condo, and when they're not using it, they rent it out kind of like a B&B to friends and family. I was like, I'd love to, use it for a week as a surprise gift to my wife when she graduates in 2021. And he was like, yeah, we can definitely do that. Anyway, so we book it, figure it all out. I get the flights arranged, everything like that. And then she graduates, and I surprise her with it. We go down there. So we're down in Mexico, in Sayulita, and, they don't drink much whiskey there. Their whiskey selection is pretty limited, obviously. Right. Most of what they have is clearly tequila because
That's right.
They have just in that little area where Puerto Vallarta is, just kind of around there's got to be half a dozen tequila distilleries and farms and all that stuff where they make all the stuff for it.
Yep.
We were going to do a tour for it, but didn't end up having time. So anyway, I think it was the second or third night we were down there because we were going out and having drinks and stuff every night. No kids, and throw caution to the wind. We got a golf cart. That's how you get around down there. And there's no drinking and driving on a golf cart in Mexico. I'll tell you what. Oh yeah, I'd still be in jail if that were true. So anyway,
Walking up and down the beaches.
right. People are hammered at night. Hammered. So we're in this bar, and all the bars always had a lot of different tequila. They had a big variety of tequila, and they'd always separate the stuff. And the first night that we went out, I didn't catch on right away, and I'm not a tequila guy, so I'd say, okay, well, give me the Jack. They had one label of Jack. I'll have that. Then Emily would have some tequila. Second or third night we're out, and we started catching on. Okay, they got all the local tequilas and then the good tequila on like the second shelf or the third shelf for the right. So all the locals know you go to those shelves when you're going to have a drink, and all the Americanos, the gringos or whatever they would call them, the touristy white people, the crackers, they'd come in and they'd look right at the Jose shelf and they'd have like 3 or 4 different Jose labels. And, I'll have that one. Or the bartender would say, they're having a tequila sunrise. Well, which tequila do you want? And the bartender would point at the Jose's. Oh, I want that one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny because you can see the bartenders like snicker with the waitstaff. Like,
Was the local tequila not very good?
Oh, awesome.
It was awesome.
Awesome.
Then why weren't people drinking it?
Because they didn't know. They were just like, all they know is Jose because from the U.S.
I remember a guy down in Mexico, down in Cancun, he just couldn't believe he couldn't get a Patron. Everywhere he went, I can't find a Patron. And the guy says, you're in Mexico. And the guy says, I know I'm in Mexico. Why can't I get Patron? He says, because they make it in America.
Yeah.
And he goes, what? The guy was borderline obnoxious about it.
The only label that I recognized other than the Jose stuff was they did have some Don Julio. But otherwise, all of them were local brands, and they had some really like high-end stuff. They had this one bottle that was like way up in one of the clubs we were in, bars, that was like in a glass-locked case. Oh. And I asked the bartender, and I don't speak any Spanish. That's like of lore because I would joke about it at the shows, yo hablo español. I don't speak any Spanish. My wife speaks some because she took it for years in school and college, so she's basically helping us out. So we asked the bartender, what's the deal with that one? And he was trying to say it's a very special tequila. It's a high-end, sort of like a King Louis brandy,
Right.
like high-end. And I was like, well, how much is it? And so for them in pesos, it's like $1 million. But in American, it's like, I think, $25 or $30 a shot, which is pretty expensive.
You bet it is there.
But within reason to try it.
Yeah, it was like 600 pesos, so that would be 30 American. And so I'd already had a few drinks. We'd already had supper and all that stuff, and I was like, let's get that thing out,
Yeah.
I got to try it. We're in Mexico, right? Like, get the pesos out. If I need more, I'll go to the cash machine.
Right.
So I was like, let's have one for me and one for Emily, and I bought the bartender a shot, and he was like, really? I'm like, absolutely, let's do it.
That's great.
I guess it doesn't happen that much, but
Right.
so he was super cool actually, because when we paid out our tab, he came over and he just said, I've had so much fun talking to you guys. I took my shot off of your bill. And I was like, no, I wanted to buy you a shot. And he's like, it's totally fine. It's okay. It's okay. So when he walked away, I took the 600 pesos that I would have paid for a shot, and I left it as a tip.
Right on.
So I was like, yeah, man.
So was the tequila good?
Oh, it was amazing. It was so incredibly smooth. So tequila has this defining flavor, right?
Yeah.
No matter what, whether it's añejo or mezcal or Patron or even like, the worst of the worst, like Jose Cuervo or Cuervo Gold, like the bottom of the barrel. It has a very distinct taste where it's tequila.
You know it's tequila.
Yeah, so this was like you had that very subtle there with that, but it almost came off as sweet, and it was so incredibly smooth.
Really?
Yeah, so M, for whatever reason, only wanted a little bit of hers because she'd had a few other drinks and didn't want to be drunk. So hers was just sitting there. I wasn't going to let it go to waste. I was like, you going to drink that? And she was like, I think I've had enough. And I'm like, poured it into my glass. I'll drink it.
Well, that's a good tequila story.
Oh, it was so good. So, yeah.
Tell them about the night that you drank tequila and you woke up the next day and your knees were all just bloody.
That never happened.
Pat,
Can
can you confirm that happened?
You know what did happen is I ate the worm
Yeah.
in that bottle up at Wee Fest, and a couple worms, and it actually gets you screwed up. Anyway, the owner's
So what tequila
son,
has the worm in it?
Mezcal.
Okay.
And it does screw you up because I remember feeling really high.
Well, it's probably like
And
completely
this
soaked
kid
through.
was messing with me, and just probably 16 years old or so, and he kept messing with me. Finally, I broke a branch off, and I took it. He had a winter coat on,
Yeah.
and I hung him in the tree, and I ended up being one of the boss's sons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I almost got in trouble, but I didn't hurt him or nothing.
Right.
I just said, "You stay here."
You're
for a while."
annoying. Hang here for a minute. Yeah, that's hilarious.
That was probably 98 or 7.
Yeah, I remember that happening. I think it was
Next time Cowboy Pat comes, we better give him a microphone.
Yeah, Danny and I have already been talking
Hey,
about
he's
how
doing
we've
it
got to
again.
expand our setup a little bit because we'll probably get some, even if we want to have musical groups
Because I
in.
want to be polite and tell him to shut up over there, but he keeps talking, and we're sitting here listening, and the people are wondering.
Hey, I
what
said
they're
in the
listening
beginning
to.
he was going to be heckling. Yeah, we warned everybody. He's here on heckle detail.
I love him. I love Steve, and God
You
dang it,
too,
this
my
is a
brother.
fun deal. I know we got to bring her in for a landing pretty
We do.
soon.
Yep. We just got the warning from the producer over there. We're getting up against the clock. Steve, as much fun as we've had having you here, I hope that you will come back and join us
Oh.
again for another episode.
I'll tell you.
You know,
More because I've heard all kinds of stuff.
heckler.
Probably
heckler,
barely
heckler,
scratched the surface
heckler.
here.
Yeah,
what we're gonna do-
43 years in the bar business. There's been a lot of stories.
I think what
At least 16, 17 years with Steve's stories.
Pat, they can't hear you.
We can hear you because you're in the room, but they can't hear you on mic.
Danny, please edit that out.
I'm going
The
to name
next-
this episode, Danny, please edit this out.
Yeah,
That's
you
what
can
the
hear
whole
that.
episode's called.
Could be.
Steve-O, I think what we'll do is when we do the reunion, we're going to do a podcast, and unless
Which we're
you
not
have-
dropping details on in this episode, by the way.
Yeah, well,
Somebody asked about that earlier. Like, no, there is a reunion coming. We're not releasing any more
there is
details.
a
yet.
reunion coming, and there is a WeFest kickoff party coming.
Combo
We
platter.
will continue to drop details as we go.
Yep.
But I'm thinking when we do that reunion,
We'll ship it to you, Tom.
we'll ship it to the rest of the folks that are my age.
Have you heard that story?
No.
We were having a conversation about trading information
Oh,
in the
Lord.
group for
Yeah.
the team. that works the podcast. And he was trying to say, send me an email or I'll send it over email or whatever. And he was like, just ship it to me. And we were all looking at each other like, ship it to you. And then I like stop and I go, you mean like FedEx or UPS?
I mean like slang.
Ship it. Just ship it.
Send it over to me. I said, ship it over to me.
That's right.
I know that you will get
guys.
that. These young. What the hell was I talking about? So when we do that episode, maybe we'll have Steve and Tommy on, and we'll get the true stories. They can banter back and forth,
right.
and they can argue and they can fight it out, and we can get some of the true stories. But that wouldn't be a bad day.
See who's lost their
to
memory.
have both of them on at the same time.
I'd like.
You think
that.
so?
Hey,
Maybe if
we're
we combine your two stories together, we'll get the
yeah.
actual truth out of it, huh?
Do you think that's a good idea, Shane?
I think it's a great idea. I think, for that particular show, when we start getting into detail and we market it, announce it to the public, what we'll probably do is start mixing in all the personalities. Pat can take a seat for a few minutes, and Ricky St. John and Shooter and Steve and Tom, and, we'll get
that's a really good idea.
Little segment
The
for all
whole
the guys
crew,
to talk
we know
about
them
it.
all.
Yeah, we'll just spend that whole show talking about RCS and its history, and that would be really great. Right, go way back. Get the way back machine.
All right.
Folks, thanks a lot for tuning into this week's episode of Boots and Backstraps, and we apologize, not in advance because we're not in advance, but we apologize post for all of the inappropriate language and stories and stuff we had in this one, but we did warn you on the front side. That was the way this was going to go.
Keep them calmer.
He did his best to keep us under control. Don't forget, if you've got questions, comments, snide remarks, you can send those to bootsandbackstrapspodcast@gmail.com. We love seeing your fan comments and questions and things like that there, so do that. And if you're on, whether you're on one of the listening platforms like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Google Play, any of those places, make sure you give us a thumbs up and a like. Make sure you leave us a comment on our videos. If you're on one of our video platforms, make sure that you subscribe to those as well. We love having the subscribers and the following with that kind of thing. And with that, TK.
Remember, folks, whether you're belting out your favorite country song or you're pursuing your favorite game animal, I encourage you to use that same passion to pursue the Lord. He will teach you to shoot straight. Good to have you this week. I look forward to seeing you next week. Come on now.
The hunt is on, looking for backstraps, way deep in the woods, tracking in a swamp to a hay field under the harvest moon. When the tags are filled, it's time to switch up our boots. Head down to the honky-tonk, get us a swing dance or two. We're talking about boots and backstraps.